Hi, my name's Selena. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my June wrap up and my July TBR. So June was the Olympic readathon over on the Shelf Space Discord. I was in Team Hades. I think we came in like 5th place or something, but Team Zeus came in 2nd, so that's all that really matters. But basically, I'm going to be telling you guys about the books that I read for that readathon today in the month of June, and I will tell you what prompts they counted for, if anything, as well. And then we'll get into July's TBR. But first, let's get into stats for what I read in June. So in total, I read 14 things. One of them was a short story, 2 of them were novellas, 9 were novels, and 2 were graphic novels. As far as star ratings go, I gave out 3 5 stars, 4 4 stars, 6 3 stars, and 1 2 star. As you can see, it was a very middling month for me. As far as genres go, I read 11 fantasy books, 1 sci-fi book, 1 adventure book, and 1 that's like a mythic fiction book. I'm really not sure how to classify this one. And then out of the age ranges, I read 9 adult books, 1 YA book, and 2 middle grade. So going from the one I liked the least to the book I liked the most, there will be timestamps if you want to skip around. The first book that I'm going to talk about was a graphic novel, and I gave it 2.75 stars. And that is Moonstruck Volume 1, Magic to Brew by, I don't remember who wrote this, but it's by one of the people who wrote the really famous graphic novel Lumberjanes. And so if you like Lumberjanes, maybe check this out, but I really didn't like this one. I mean, it was okay, but it really just was not for me. I just didn't find myself enjoying this very much at all. It's only the first volume of a graphic novel, but it just got under my skin. I didn't really like the characters. It wasn't really what it sold itself as to me. This was really sold to me as like a werewolf working in a coffee shop with a girlfriend, and there was that, but there was also this weird plot going on that seemed to wrap up very quickly in a first volume, and there's a lot of unnecessary romance drama like thrown in and like just manufactured relationship drama, and I'm not about that stuff, so I didn't really like this one at all. Moving on to my first 3 star. I don't really know how to order these, but because I had 6 of them. But I'm first just going to talk about a short story that I read. I didn't read it for a prompt. I don't even think I counted it in the Olympic readathon, but it's because it was so short. It doesn't really have page numbers because I read it online. And it's The Angel of Connell Khalil by Pijale Clark. So this is a short story in the same world of the Adegin and Cairo universe, but it doesn't follow any of the characters that we know in this actual story. It's just a short story that is in the same world about someone who goes to an angel for a wish. And I don't know, it was fine. It was a 3 star. It was a good short story. It wasn't great. I liked everything else in this series a lot better, or this universe a lot better. So yeah, this one didn't really add anything to my love for that series. But as always, I do recommend you go check out my reviews for Adegin and Cairo and A Master of Jinn because I loved them, especially A Master of Jinn. I'm really stuck on how to rank these next 2 because they're very similar. I think I'm going to do the one who disappointed me the most first, and that is The Jewel of the Endless Erg by John Bierce. This is the second in a self-published YA progression fantasy series. Progression fantasy is when you follow a character who really a lot of the plot revolves around them leveling up in the magic system, and that's definitely what this story is. This is the second book in a series that my friend Udi really likes, and this was just a 3 star for me. I really enjoyed Into the Labyrinth. It was like a 4 or 4.5 star at this point. It had its issues, but it was so fun and so whimsical and so well put together that I was willing to overlook those. But Jewel of the Endless Erg really just didn't have that same vibe to it, that same whimsical but yet interesting and intricately woven, fun vibe to it. This was a lot of travel, and like it would be like the pacing was really off, so we'd be like traveling or just doing something, doing whatever, like pittering around, and then we would have a lot of like action all at once, and it was just not very fun to read. And then I didn't really care about the plot that we did have. There was this political drama that came out of nowhere, and it was kind of annoying to read. And a lot of the world lost its magic for me. A lot of the characters who I'd really gotten to know in the first book, I expected their development to continue. I don't think it did very well. I feel like we kind of stunted them and replaced their development and their development as a friendship with a romantic plot that was not executed well, in my opinion. So yeah, this one really disappointed me. I had heard this was the weakest in the series, but I didn't expect it to be so weak for me. So yeah, that wasn't really for me. I have a full review of this book, so I'm not going to say anything more. Check that out if you want to hear more of my detailed thoughts about this one. Next 3-star that I'm going to talk about is Journey to the Center of the Earth. Oh, by the way, I haven't been telling you prompts. So Moonstruck was for the Artemis prompt because it had moon in the title. Jewel of the Endless Urg I used for the Hermes prompt because it was like a journey story, and that was the Hermes prompt. And then Journey to the Center of the Earth was gonna be my Hermes prompt, but I ended up using it for Aphrodite because I do think that the Barnes & Noble edition, the one that I'm putting up right here right now, is very beautiful, and I probably would not have picked this book up had I not seen that edition with dinosaurs on the cover. Tell me those aren't dinosaurs. Those are dinosaurs, right? That's why I picked this book up, and I hate to break it to you, there's no dinosaurs in this book. It was very disappointing to me. I don't have a review for this, so I can't link you to anything, but I didn't really love this. I was okay. It was better than I expected. I expected to completely hate my life while reading it, and I didn't. So I guess it's a win for this one. Whereas with Jewel of the Endless Urg, I expected that one to be a lot better, whereas Journey to the Center of the Earth, I expected it to be worse, so I ended up enjoying this one more. Does that make sense? This one is a classic. It's an adventure classic. It's about like this, like, I don't know, like a guy whose uncle is really into like scientific theories. I don't really know what brand of scientist I would call him, but he's really into theories about the world, and he has really out there theories, and he really feels like he has a very different idea of what the center of the earth looks like than most people at this time, and so he goes to the center of the earth, or he tries to see who is right, and yeah, that's basically what this book is. I thought we were going to see a lot of like prehistoric or like dinosaur creatures basically from this cover, and we did see some, but that's really not what this is. This is a lot of travel. Again, I've read a lot of travel books this month. I'm really done with travel books, but yeah, a lot of travel, and that's basically what this book is. The title does not lie. This is a journey to the center of the earth. This is not with the emphasis on the journey, not the other parts of the title. Like, this is really a journey story. And other than that, I didn't think the characters were great, but I didn't hate them. There were some really cool descriptions in here, but they were sort of few and far between in the moments of kind of boring travel for me, so this wasn't really it for me. I didn't really love it. The next 3-star that I read was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I liked this book, but I didn't love it, and it was really disappointing to me. I thought I was gonna love this book because so many people I know love it, but it just really wasn't my thing. And I also really love Susanna Clarke's other work, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, but this one was just not for me. It's really not the same as that one in any way. It's not very long. It's not very it is slow, but in a different way. It's not the same writing style. It doesn't have the same sort of deep characters, in my opinion, that Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell does. It doesn't have the same humor that Strange and Norrell does. It also doesn't have the same sort of dark, magical, whimsical beauty that Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell does. So this one just didn't really work for me in the way that I wanted it to. I don't really know what else to say about it. I have a full review if you really want to know the exact parts of this book that didn't really work for me, but this was okay. I used it for Poseidon because I was going to use it for Aphrodite, but I ended up using Journey to the Center of the Earth for Aphrodite, so I wanted to pick something else for this to be, so I picked Poseidon, and I wasn't going to end up reading Treasure Island because I just didn't want another journey story, so I took that off my TBR and moved this to Poseidon, and moved Journey to Aphrodite. It all worked out, but yeah. I read this one, I reviewed it, check it out if you want to hear about it. I know it's a very well-loved book, and so I'm not trying to come for it. It just really was not for me. The next 3-star, I don't know. Maybe it's a 3-star, maybe it's a 3.5 star. I think I enjoyed reading it more than I did the other 3 stars that I've talked about so far, so that's why I had it as a 3.5. But I also am just like that makes it so much more angering to me when this book ended in a way that I didn't like and did things that I didn't love. So, and that book is Aphrodite by Jennifer Saint. I'm actually about to record a review for this book, and that review will be up soon, so I'm not going to say too much about this. Just keep a lookout for this review. But I gave it like a 3.5 maybe stars, so I feel like being generous. This is a mythic fiction book, and I love Greek mythology. I've always been interested in Ariadne, in Greek mythology in particular. I love retellings. I was so excited for this book, and it just did not live up to any expectations that I had. I was not happy with this book at all. I mean, it was okay. It had its moments that were really poignant or beautiful or interesting, that used the history, used the myths in interesting ways. But for the most part, it was a lot of different retellings. And nothing to me was done in a very original or interesting way. So it wasn't my favorite one of this style, which is a shame because it's so beautiful. And I was so anticipating this. But if you want to hear more, sort of watch out for my review, because I don't know, I don't want to linger too much on it in a wrap up with a lot of other books to talk about, but yeah, I didn't love this. The sixth and final 3-star of this whole wrap up is Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. I do have a full review for this, so I will link that. This was okay. I liked the friendship between Murderbot and Art, but it really, other than that, like, a lot of the plot was not just interesting to me, and I'm not even sure I could tell you exactly what happened in a lot of the plot. So here we are. I don't know what I'm doing, but I didn't love that one, and so I just had to give it 3.5 stars. By the way, I did use Ariadne for the Demeter prompt because that prompt was read a book with food on the cover, and Ariadne had grapes, whereas Artificial Condition I used it for the Found Family prompt because Hestia, because I really do think that Art and Murderbot had a really nice found family. So the first 4-star that I'm going to talk about, this is where we get into the books that I really enjoyed reading. The first 4-star I'm going to talk about is Ring Shout by PJ Clark. I really enjoyed this book. This was a really interesting fantasy, dark historical fantasy about a Black woman living in, I believe, the 1920s in America, where in an area where the KKK is very much active and scary, and basically there are members of the KKK that kind of turn into these monsters or can summon these monsters and have them take over. I don't know, it's hard to explain that, but basically with those monsters, they can cause a lot of havoc as monsters, and so we have a bunch of people who can see them and become monster hunters, and we follow someone who can see them and is a monster hunter and hunts these monsters, which are called Ku Kluxes. And basically an enemy in this book is coming that is more serious than the enemies that our main character has faced so far, and she has to deal with it. And that's all I really want to say about this book because it is a novella. It's so short, but I really enjoyed this. I think PJ Clark is a master at crafting characters and worlds and stories and weaving like folklore and mythology and everything into his books. So I so enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to reading the final book by him and also anything else that he comes out with. By the way, Ring Shout was for the Dionysus prompt because you had to read a book with a red or white cover, and this one happens to have both on it. The next 4-star I read, and my only true other 4-star, the others are 4.5 stars, is The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin. I read this one. It was good. It's kind of it's a 4-star. It's a really middle of the road 4-star. It was very, very good in my opinion. I love her writing. I thought the plot was pretty good, pretty interesting. I think that it wasn't even necessarily the plot had a lot happening or that it was a super engaging plot. It was just something about the way she wrote it and the way she wrote these characters and their interactions with each other that I loved. I thought this was so cool. That was really compelling to me, and I did find this world pretty compelling and the mythology of it, and it was very like odd and interesting. There is trigger warnings that you need to know for this. I talk about them in my review. I did review this. If you want to hear more detail on what I liked and what I didn't like, I guess, or what was odd about this book, then you can check out that review. This is a very like literary sort of political fantasy. So it was an interesting start into N.K. Jemisin. I didn't love it as much as I hoped to, but I also didn't dislike it, so that's really good. And of course, The 100,000 Kingdoms was for the Zeus prompt because you have to read a book with a patriarchy or kingdom. I believe this book had both. So yeah, there's that. The next 4-star is a 4.5 star, and that is His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik, or Temeraire if you're in the UK. So this is the first in the Temeraire series, which is a series about it's an alternate history fantasy about if there were dragons that were used in the Napoleonic Wars. And so we follow a British naval officer who basically gets saddled with this dragon and who has to kind of become a dragon trainer, a dragon rider, I guess. I don't really know what they call them, I forgot. But he basically, it's about his relationship with his dragon and how he has to leave everything he knew behind to pursue this new calling. And it was just so good. I really loved the relationship between the dragon and man. I thought the characters were really good, really well fleshed out. And so just a really fun book. A lot of books that I've read, I mean, not a lot. I think a lot of the books I read were supposed to be emotional or actually were emotional or darker, like darker worlds, like 100,000 Kingdoms, Ring Shout. This one was just so fun, especially like adult fantasy that I read is definitely a lot of times a bit darker. Temeraire was one of those that was absolutely not. This was so fun and funny and sweet and cute and just was about this adorable relationship. This is technically a military fantasy, but it is more light on the military battle sequences at least, but we are training in the military, doing errands and things and runs for the military in this, and we are definitely going to be on the front lines of war throughout this 9-book series, I think. Temeraire, by the way, was a last-minute throw-in pick for this readathon because I wanted to meet the Aries prompt, and this was the shortest, quickest audiobook that I knew how to get a hold of quickly for this prompt, and I ended up loving it. It was so good. Such a sweet, fun, quick time. And the final 4-star was the highest 4.5 star that I read, and that is Tunnel of Bones by Victoria Schwab. I have an up and down relationship with Victoria Schwab. I don't really like most of her books except her middle grade series, City of Ghosts. This is the second book in the City of Ghosts series, and I really enjoyed this. This is about a girl named Cassidy Blake who, ever since a near-death experience, has been able to see beyond her world into another, like the realm of the dead, basically, and that makes her kind of vulnerable to like slipping over to the other side and things like that. She also has a ghost best friend who is very cool. They have a great friendship that's very fun to watch. And Cassidy also has parents who are ghost hunters, but they don't really believe that Cassidy has this connection with the world. They don't know about it, and they don't fully believe in ghosts themselves, not to the extent where they're like seeing them like Cassidy does, at least. So it's really funny to watch this sort of dynamic of the parents who are sort of traveling around the world in this series, filming their show, like a paranormal investigations show. And Cassidy is like in these haunted places, seeing all the ghosts and seeing all the haunted stuff for what it is, whereas her parents are obviously not. And every book, it seems, is more episodic. We have like a new like problem ghost that Cassidy has to deal with, and this one, it was just a short, sweet, great story. I thought it was really good. This time Cassidy is in France and she's dealing with a poltergeist, and I really enjoyed this. I love our characters in this. I think the friendship between Cassidy and her ghost best friend Jacob makes this story. They are so cute together. They have such a nice dynamic. I think it was nice to see lots of like moments with Cassidy and her parents, and like, yes, they're not super involved in the quests and everything, but she doesn't have a bad relationship with them, and that's really nice to see in a middle grade. And then I think the plot was really good in this one. I think City of Ghosts had a good plot too, but I liked this one better. And then I also really liked how we were able to get more emotional moments with the characters in this one than we got in City of Ghosts, and it was very good, very satisfying. Loved this. It was a very quick read, very fun read, and I sort of threw this on my TBR last minute for the Hades prompt because that was my team. I needed a Hades, and I didn't think I was going to finish Evercruel Kingdom, which was going to be my pick for Hades, and I just jumped into Tunnel of Bones, and I'm very glad I did because I loved it. Now we are on to the 5 stars, of which there are 3. The first one of those was The Tea-Dragon Tapestry by Kay O'Neill. This is a new release in the Tea-Dragon series, the Tea-Dragon graphic novel series. I really enjoyed this. This was a 5-star graphic novel. I didn't love it as much as the Tea-Dragon Festival, which y'all know I loved, but I did really love this one. This was very sweet. We catch up with the characters of the first graphic novel again, which was always nice. We had really good relationships, really good plot progression, and this is actually the end of the trilogy of T-Dragon graphic novels, which is very sad to me, but this was very sweet. I read it for the Apollo prompt. It was one of the first prompts I filled, if not the first, and I so loved this. Apollo was to read a book in a non-traditional format, by the way, and this is definitely a graphic novel, so it's non-traditional format. I love this so much, and I will continue to come back to the series all the time. Oopsies. The next 5-star was for the Hephaestus prompt, which is read a book with fire on the cover, and so I read Hollow Pox by Jessica Townsend. Yeah, I loved this book. It was a 5-star, of course. I didn't love it as much as Wondersmith, which I can link you to my review of Wondersmith and Nevermore, and finally this book. All three will be linked, but I love this book. I loved where we went in the series. I have a very, very detailed review, so I don't want to spend much time on this, but I really, really enjoyed this, and I cannot wait for book 4 in the series. I could continue reading this series like forever. I feel similarly about the T-Dragon Society, and I'm just glad that this one's not ending after 3 because I cannot handle not having more, especially after that ending. Finally, the final 5-star that I read and the final book that I'm going to talk about that I read in June was The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. This was my favorite book of the month. I love this book so much. It was a easy 5-star, and a review of this is coming out soon, so I don't want to go on about it too much because I do have plenty of it there. This was an amazing slow burn political fantasy with lots of good characters, lots of good character relationships, and lots of things going on. I loved it so much. This is such a good start to a new fantasy series, and I'm so excited to continue. So now let's get into a rapid fire TBR for July because I am losing light. So the first thing that I'm going to read is These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. This is actually a buddy read on my Discord server. Discord server will be linked in the description. This is the pick for my Asteroid B612 book club that I run with my friend Ray. And you can find the link to the Goodreads group down in the description as well, but most of the talking happens on the Discord, so join if you're interested in reading this book with us in July. And then also on the Discord, every month, people vote on the books that they would like to read the next month. And so this month's pick, July, is She Who Became the Sun, a new release. So it will be going into August, of course, because a lot of people aren't going to be able to get a hold of the new release immediately. I know that, so I'm leaving the channels up a bit longer. But yeah, we voted on this one. I'm so excited. This one's like a Mulan meets like The Song of Achilles pitched book. I think it's like historical fantasy, literary fantasy type of vibe. I'm very excited. So first of this TBR, oh, I'm losing light, is gonna be a stack of books that I was supposed to have read already. Oops. The first one of those is The Ever Cruel Kingdom by Rin Chapeko. I was supposed to finish this for the Hades prompt in June, but I didn't, so I'm reading it now. I am about I'm that far into it right now. I'm gonna finish this either today or tomorrow, probably. I'm really enjoying this book, but yeah, I'm currently reading it and it's actually carrying over. The next book that I am carrying over that I have not read yet is The Martian by Andy Weir. I am not very far in this. I was reading this in May and then I took a break and I didn't get back to it in June. So I need to finish it this month. It's hopefully going to be the next audiobook I finish. I'm currently listening to it right now, so hopefully this will be finished really soon. And then for the Hera prompt, which I was supposed to fill with Crown of Feathers, I actually did not get to fill that prompt for Hades, so I didn't get to this book, but this will be one of the next audiobooks I pick up. And then also The Long Way to the Small Angry Planet. This was supposed to be my Hestia pick, but yeah, I didn't get to it, so I replaced the Hestia pick with something else, something short, Artificial Condition, and I will get to this month. Next, I have a couple books I plan to listen to on audio. So the first one is Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Alston. So this is a middle grade series that I've heard compared to like Nevermore or like some other middle grade series as being like some of the best tropes of middle grade, some of the most fun elements of middle grade. It's all unpacked into this book, and so I'm super excited. This is the UK version. It's very beautiful with silver edges and everything, so I love this edition and I'm super excited to read this one. I actually requested the audio because I wasn't I had a lot of physical books to read, so I requested the audio from my library and it came in. So yeah, I'm gonna be reading this. Another audiobook that I hope to get to is Rogue Patrol by Martha Wells. This is a short little audiobook that I hope will take me no time at all. But this one, it's the third book in their Murderbot series. I read the second one last month and I read the first one a few months ago. I will link those reviews in the cards, so check that out if you want to hear my thoughts, but I'm really excited to read the third one. Another audiobook that I have to get to is Arduous by Andy Weir. This audiobook comes highly recommended from my friend Ray. I've heard this isn't people's favorite book of his, but Ray really liked it, so I'm excited to see how I like it, and I would like to, read it and stuff, so I'm gonna. And then the final audiobook that I hope to be able to get to, I might flip back and forth with audio and physical for this one because I really enjoyed reading the first one in this series in audio form, and that's The Lost World, the sequel to Jurassic Park. I'm finally doing it. I'm definitely doing it in July. I've said I'm going to do this a lot in the past few months, and so finally it is time for me to get to The Lost World because I'm super, super psyched for the sequel to one of my favorite books of the year. I will have also a review of Jurassic Park, which I will link somewhere. Then on to the rest of the physical books that I'm getting to this month. So the first one that I want to talk about is gonna be the one that I'm currently reading right now that I've already started is Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. I'm not very far into it, but I'm already really enjoying it. So I'm hoping to finish this July. And then I'm also going to be on vacation a little bit in July. So I have some books that I specifically want to read on vacation. The first one of those is The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. I'm super excited for this one. It's a 5-star prediction. I'm so excited for The Bone Shard Daughter. Some books I got used that I feel comfortable taking on the beach. Sorcerer to the Crown by Zen Cho. Memory Called Empire by Arcady Martine, and Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. All of these are hopefully going to be read this month. I'm excited to try it. I have a book that my friend Ray loaned me, Defy the Stars. I would like to try and make time for this if I can, because I would like to get this back to her as soon as I can. And then I have some classics that I hope to be able to read on the beach, maybe. We will see. This is getting a really ambitious TBR, and I will not finish all this, just so you know. We have The Outsiders, which I'm scared of, and then The Iliad by Homer, which I'm oddly less scared of than The Outsiders, despite its size. And the final book I want to talk to you about is my book, Vegetables, for the month. Not that, I like vegetables, okay? I'm not saying that to be mean to this book at all. But this is actually a book that I have to read for school. This is a fiction book. We're allowed to pick from a lot of books, so I picked this one because this is the one that I want to read the most, and that book is King and the Dragonflies by Case and Callender. This is actually middle grade contemporary. I don't read a lot of contemporary anymore, but I haven't really read any contemporary middle grade since I was a middle grader myself, so I'm really excited to see how that genre's changed, and this one I know has queer rep in it and deals with grief and sexuality and coming of age and stuff, and I've just heard it's beautiful, and so it has really high ratings, so I'm really excited to see this and hopefully incorporate it into my library and eventually my classroom one day. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.